The Syrian war started in the spring of 2011, part of a groundswell of uprisings across the region that became known as the Arab Spring. Since then, the Syrian rebels and regime of President Bashar al-Assad have remained entrenched in warfare, and journalists have fought to gather information and report what has been happening inside Syria's borders. I spoke with veteran war correspondent and University of Oklahoma journalism professor Mike Boettcher about the ongoing conflict. Mike, how did the conflict in Syria begin?
Well, it was part of the Arab Spring, and it began in March of 2011 when protesters took to the streets in Syria. And a month later, Bashar al-Assad decided to crack down. And that was a big disappointment to people who thought that he might be a reformer after his father, who was a real hardliner.
How was this different from other Arab Spring uprisings?
I think because of the multitude of players that are involved here and the fact that it is really at the epicenter of an epic struggle between two branches of Islam, Sunni and Shia. And it is so important strategically in that region. What it did, as opposed to all of the other uprisings, is create a potential flashpoint for a future clash between both Sunni and Shia and East and West. So in one side on this conflict as it stands now, you have Iran, you have Hezbollah, you have Russia. On the other side, you have Western nations, plus Saudi Arabia, Sunni Muslim nations, Gulf nations, and Jordan. And Egypt is huge because it is the most powerful, populous Arab nation in the world and Islamic nation. But this geopolitically is a flashpoint.
Who are the rebels in Syria and what do they want?
Well, that's a hard question, and that's a question they're trying to decipher in Washington. There are basically, generally speaking, two sides on this. There is the Free Syrian Army, of which components of that are groups that the U.S. and European nations are backing now with small arms and ammunition. On the other side, generally speaking, is the al-Nusra Front, which consists mostly of more radical elements of the Islamic community.
It's been discovered that chemical weapons have been used. Mm-hmm. How has that changed the equation?
Well, it's forced the United States to act. It's forced the hand of the Obama administration, which sees only lose-lose scenarios for involvement in this war. But the fact that President Obama laid down the red line several months ago about chemical weapons being a line that the Syrians could not cross, the Europeans were pushing us to get involved and pushing us with evidence they had. Finally, it became too overwhelming, and there was an escalation. The United States is now supplying small arms and ammunition to groups that they hope are not radical. On the other side, the Russians just this week came out with evidence saying that the rebels had used chemical weapons, a very crude form of sarin.
Mike Boettcher, ABC News correspondent from the Gaylord College at OU. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.